In trading, knowledge is power, and lack of knowledge in what you're doing can be costly, very costly. So you need a solid foundation of quality market education. Whether you're new to trading or a seasoned veteran looking to add advanced strategies to your arsenal, there's always something to learn and something to improve on. And now you can access the same knowledge that professional traders receive with Market Rebellion's Trading Education. I'm Bill Johnson, Head of Options Education here at Market Rebellion, and we've assembled a comprehensive curriculum based on decades of real trading experience, covering everything you need to know about trading options from beginner to advanced. We go way beyond the nuts and bolts of options theory to teach you how to apply specific trading strategies and the techniques needed to adapt your trades when markets shift. Regardless of your goals, you'll gain access to the education you need with easy-to-consume lessons so you can learn to trade with confidence, enhance your knowledge, and master the practical skills required for market success. So please join us for in-depth trading education only from Market Rebellion. Hey, good afternoon, Market Rebels. It is time again, Stu, for Coach's Corner. It seems like we just did this. They seem to roll around almost on a daily basis. But I think it's because we have Miami coming up, so it seems like time is just flying. I think we're going to see a lot of you in Miami. Looking forward to that. But we are recording early, again, mostly because of Miami. Really getting pushed here. But today we had, what was the big news, Stu? 25 basis point cut. I shouldn't say it was big news. It was priced in by about, 96% on the Fed Watch tool.
I was going to say the big news was no news.
Yeah, big news was no news. But what was, SPY was down, pennies? And I think the Dow was up a couple $100 or a couple hundred
200,
points.
260. The
260, yeah, which is pretty flat for the Dow.
60 cents or something like that. It was not
So not, for the most part, it was priced in there. But that was, I think, why everybody was thinking the market was in a holding pattern coming up to that. So now that that's out of the way, hopefully we can get our rally reinstated here. So for today, what I wanted to do, and I know that you and I get questions like this a lot, a little more about pricing, kind of some theory. We like to teach traders this because it really helps to understand strategies, how they work, how they unfold, how they don't work. And people have all kinds of misconceptions about them. And one thing that we get a lot is this. Ready for this topic here, Stu?
Shoot, buddy.
Can an at-the-money option beat?
an in the option?
Now, when I say that, I'm talking about in terms of dollars. Now, for the first part here, we're going to assume that we're not changing volatility. We're just talking about the stock price. And what I want everybody to think about is gamma. Is it possible that maybe with the at-the-money having more gamma, that it could somehow outpace an in-the-money? All right, so we want you to think about that for just a moment. And not only think about it, obviously the answer is either yes or no. And unlike depends, I'll at least give you that. It's in this case, it's either yes or no. But that's guessing. Try to think of why your answer is yes or no. So with that, let's head into it. So here we go. Can an at-the-money option ever outpace an in-the-money option in terms of dollars? That's our chalk talk question. So again, just kind of think about it, jot down your answer, but more importantly, why? So for this one, Stu, we're going to have to dive in a little bit more from my academic side when I was teaching at FIU. There were a lot of things that we did with pricing, what are called pricing boundaries and pricing principles and arbitrage bounds and with commissions and without commissions and all of these different details about certain boundary spaces where options have to live. So that's what we're going to do here. Before we get started, quick reminder for everyone out there, marketrebellion.com/get started. Just go to that website. No sign in, no 2FA, all that kind of stuff. Lots of articles and videos on topics just like this to help you get started. The more you know, the better choices you're going to make, and that can only mean better trades. So here we go. What we're going to do here, Stu, is come up with a formula, step through the logic. Is there a condition? What would have to happen for an at-the-money option to beat in the money if it could? So how would you answer that? How would you go about it? Well, here's what we're going to do. Now, again, there's a little bit of math here. Bear with us. We're going to step you through it. But let's say that the at-the-money option equals, now this is the profit, I should say. The profit for the at-the-money is the stock price, so we can get our little pointer out here, is the stock price minus the exercise price of the at-the-money, whatever that strike price happens to be, minus the cost of the at-the-money. So at expiration, isn't that true? If the stock is 110 and we have the $100 call, isn't that worth 10? And if we paid 5, then we would have a $5 gain. That's all that's telling us. Now for the in the money, we're going to do the same thing. The profit for the in the money is the stock price minus the exercise price for the in the money, whichever one you happen to choose, minus the cost of the in the money. Same formula, just different strikes. Now here's what we're going to do. This can get a little tricky. We're trying to figure out the difference of these. We want to take the at the money minus the in the money, right? We're going to see if maybe if this one's 10 and this is 7, for instance, we would say the at the money beat the in the money. So we're really interested in the difference of the at the money minus the in the money. So what we're going to do mathematically is subtract these two equations out. I'm going to take ATM minus ATM, which equals what? Obviously, ATM minus ETM. Now here you got to kind of keep your bearings straight a little bit. If we take the at the money, we're going to subtract each of these terms, S minus S, this minus this, and this minus this. We're just subtracting the bottom equation from the first. So what's S minus S? 0, right? So the stock just goes away. Now we have exercise of the at the money minus a negative of the exercise of the in the money, which is a positive. So this becomes a positive exercise of the in the money minus the exercise of the at the money. We're going to do the same thing here. Minus the cost of the ATM minus a negative. That makes this positive. So we're saying it's a positive cost of the in the money minus the cost of the at the money. So what we're trying to figure out here is we know for sure that this number has to be less than 0. Because the in the money strike, I'm using call options, has to be a lower strike. So if this is the 90 call and this is the 100, 90 minus 100 is a negative number. It's less than 0. If I have the 95 call minus 100, it's negative 5. So we know for a fact, just because this is an in-the-money call, this has to be less than 0. But now what about this? This has to be greater than 0. Okay, because the cost of the in-the-money has to be greater than the at-the-money, because there's intrinsic value. So that's always going to be true. Now, what we're trying to figure out, is there ever a condition where we can take this piece and subtract off this piece and get something that's greater than 0? And if you look at it, it's a tug of war, right? This is pulling in one direction, this is pulling in the other. So the only way we can get this to be greater than 0 is if this is greater than 0. I'm sorry, if this beats that. So the only way that we can get the at the money to beat the in the money is if this piece right here is bigger than this piece. So now we got some information. Let's check it out. Let's say if we have a 95 call, we'll use that for our in the money, and we have a 100 at the money. What is that? That's negative 5, which is what we said before. 95 minus 100 is negative 5. What about the cost of the in the money? Let's just say that it was 7 minus 4. That's going to be positive 3. What do you notice here? 3 plus a negative 5 is what? Negative 2. So we can see in this case that it's always going to be $2 behind this at the money. So for example, let's put the stock at 110, The 95 call at expiration would be worth how much? 15. We paid 7, so it's worth 8. That's an $8 profit. The 100 call with the stock at 110 is worth 10. We subtract out 4, which is 6. And what do you notice? That the 100 call is how far behind the 95? 2. So that's always going to be true, because what it comes down to is the interplay between this difference and this difference. All right, so we had -5 here. We said that this would have to be bigger. Well, 3 is, I should say in absolute values, would have to be bigger than 5. So now what would have, let's do a different one. Quick reminder though, before we do it, get to the punchline, marketrebellion.com/get started for more topics on how to become better options traders. So let's try this. Let's go back to 95 and 100, which is what we saw before, which is -5. But now let's say that the cost is 7 on the in the money, but the at the money is only $1. Something looks a little off with that, doesn't it? Because now we have a $6 difference in these prices, and we have a $5 difference in these strikes. What happens now? Now they're going to be ahead by 1. Now we can see that the at the money will beat the in the money, because this is 6 and this is 5. But watch, so let's do an example. The stock is 110, 95 call is again worth 15 minus 7. It's worth 8. The $100 call is worth what? Stock's at 110, it's worth 10. We only paid $1 and it's 9. So look at this. The at the money call beat the in the money. 9 beats 8. And we can see there what it's telling us. If this is bigger than this, yeah, we can get a positive number. So we know that the at the money is going to beat the in the money. But there's a problem with this, Stu. What is it?
I think it's like, if you're walking down the street and you see $100 bill, you're going to pick it up.
Exactly right. This is why it's, I guess probably the better answer is, like we always say, it depends. If you want to stretch your reality and say that we could break these pricing boundaries and that we could have the difference in prices is greater than the difference in strikes, yes, you could have a situation where the at the monies beat the in the monies. However, and this is the big however, if the difference in prices is greater than the difference in strikes, yes, the at the money will beat the in the money, but that's an arbitrage. As you mentioned, very good observation. That's like finding free money in the markets. How often does that happen?
Yeah, well, what do we know about how the markets, everyone? What do we know about how the markets will react to what is perceived to be free money? They're going to close that gap, really.
They're going to close that gap. And how long will that take, do you think, Stu?
Well, these days, like less than nanoseconds.
Yeah. The second, if you were even lucky enough to see this, by the time you go, holy smokes, I think there's, and you're just about to say a pricing discrepancy, you're gonna say, oh, I must have been seeing something, it's gone. It's never, you're never gonna see it.
Yeah, you're never going to see it. The whole market's being run electronically these days. Back in the old days when it was trading crowds, I mean, maybe it happened for a split second.
It could happen, right? You'd actually have arb desks.
Orders would be flying in from all over the world trying to fix it, but no.
Yeah. So the thing is, again, depends on how far you want to stretch reality. Yes, it could if the difference in prices is greater than the difference in strikes, but don't expect to see it happen ever. So that's one, that would be the only way that you could break this pricing boundary, is to say we're going to violate this whole no arbitrage idea. But now let's stretch it a little bit. We talked about gamma. What about volatility? Because the at the monies are more sensitive to vega. Is it possible we could keep the stock price the same and keep pumping up volatility and get the at the money to beat the in the money? Good question. Well, to do this one, speed things up a little bit, let's just bring up a pricing model. So what do we want to do here? Let's do underlying stock at 100, and we'll do a $95 call. I'm going to take interest rates out just to make the calculations a little easier here. So notice that the option is trading for about $6. Now, if we go to the 100, it's trading for less. That's what we said before. But what if we start cranking up volatility? I'm going to keep the stock price the same, and let's put volatility up to something ridiculous. Let's go to
Okay. We're talking about the in the monies, right, Bill?
where we're talking about the in the monies right now. Yeah.
Just making sure. Okay.
So let's go to 200 vol, $24 stock or option, 500 vol. Now, again, you might say, wait a minute, 500 vol is, well, that's not the question. The question is, could it happen? So again, it depends on how far you want to stretch reality. We're just trying to
We've seen it.
understand the pricing boundaries.
Yeah.
1,000 vol. Let's go to 2,000.
Yeah, it's stretching it, but
What's going to happen? What do you
well, that's
notice though is happening? If we go to 3,000, we hit exactly 100 and the put hits 95. Now watch what happens if we increase it some more. You would think we would increase, right? Increasing vol, but watch those numbers.
no, it's going to max out.
It's maxed out. So what are we maxing out at here? We are maxing out at the strike price for, I'm sorry, the stock price for the call and the strike for the put. And it doesn't matter how high vol goes from there. So now, what if we went to the 100 call? What do you notice about those? The call price didn't change. So the answer to part B of this, could the at the money beat the in the money? No, but it could tie. That would be the very best it could do, and that would only be under a very unrealistic pump in volatility. So what does
But
that
even
tell you?
then, Bill, you know, if even if that happens, which is highly unlikely,
Highly unlikely.
you're going to set up that vertical for nothing. And
For, that's why it's a whole separate conversation. Correct. But that's why it's never even going to get close to this.
if somebody wants to sell me a vertical for nothing, I'll
For
buy
zero,
it.
why not take it?
Take it.
Take it, absolutely. Kind of be a risk arb. But anyway, part of the thing is, and this is a little kind of a tangent to what we're going to be talking about in Miami, that people forget. They'll say, yes, there are benefits to gamma. There are benefits to out of the monies, right? They're just tools. But what they don't realize, contract for contract, the in the monies always win in terms of dollars. So you have to ask yourself, are you trying to pick up dollars or are you trying to pick up percentages? And so those are some of the things we're going to talk about, strategic uses of delta and gamma in Miami. But that's kind of what made me think about these topics. Again, this was kind of from the FIU days. But it's I think it's very interesting to show that even though it sounds like we've got these characteristics of gamma or of vega, it seems like there might be conditions where the at the money could beat the in the money, and the answer is no can do. Not going to happen.
Can I I'm gonna ask you like a really dumb question here.
We love dumb questions because
Can I just look at the delta and see that it's going to move more than the in the money is going to move more than the at the money and kind of come up with the same answer?
That would be the problem with that, though, Stu, is that's taking the easy route. That's making it easy. You're exactly right.
Sorry.
No, exactly. But it's also a beautiful insight because it shows that there's lots of different things, different ways to see the board, and most people never do. Most people would never catch that. So anyway, we were just I just noticed.
Yeah, I was being funny a little bit, everyone, but like when you think it through and you go to the next level,
it's the same thing. Yeah.
You come up with this. You go through the math and you come up with the answer of theoretically they could be the same, but would they ever? What does that really mean in real life? So what it means is
long before they even got close to that. Like you say, even when the vertical spread is trading for 10 cents, why not take a shot for 10 cents, 5 cents? What about zero? You can't say no to zero.
Can't say no to zero.
But before you might be waiting on the wings to take zero, somebody's going to grab it for 5 cents. Somebody's going to grab it for 10, thinking that nobody else is going to let that one go. Yeah, it's never going to get there.
Yeah.
So anyway,
and then, a $0 vertical spread is really everything to gain and nothing to lose. So why not?
Opposite of danger that we talk about, right? Where you've got almost everything to lose and nothing to gain. So at any rate, we thought you might find that a little interesting, a little
And here's
precursor.
another little note on that.
All right.
A lot of these like algo bots that are kind of running these prices these days, um, according to their models, they're coming from firms that have capped capped commissions.
Right.
And when you think like, if you when you go to buy 1,000 or 5,000 or 10,000 spreads for even, it's a great do, but you got to pay all this money in commissions. Sometimes, depending on the firm, sometimes the marginal commission on that type
Right.
of,
It's
once you get
zero.
to a certain level, it's zero,
Yeah.
right? Because they're capped out, they're trading anyway. So, many times that's not even really a consideration.
Exactly. And a lot of these firms, even if it's not an individual trader, it's going to be Goldman Sachs or something who can come in with $100 million in trades, and they will correct that because it's free money. Why not?
Yeah.
Right? Why
And they
not? I
will.
mean, and
Yeah.
they will, and that's why you're never going to see it.
Yeah.
The good news is it makes the prices fair for the rest of us when we understand that what fair value is and no arbitrage bounds mean. But the main thing we wanted to show you here is that we still hear a lot of people saying, "Oh, I don't want to do the in the monies because they're so expensive and they think that that's risky." Risk is about the extrinsic value, and they think, well, the at the monies have gamma or they have more vega, and if I get a big pop in vol and a pretty aggressive move, I'm going to beat the in the money. And the answer is no, you won't. Now that doesn't mean it's a bad trade or a bad idea, but it's not going to beat the in the money. And if you can buy the in the money and have to only predict direction instead of direction and speed, it's got to be part of the consideration. You got to at least think about that. So I thought that would be something fun to kind of run by our traders here.
Yeah, that was
And
real cool.
so what do you think the answer is here for everyone out there in YouTube land? Can an at the money option ever outpace an in the money option in terms of dollars?
Outpace, everyone. Outpace. What was the answer? Negative.
Nope. Now, what's the very best it could do if you want to talk about volatility? Could tie.
It could
But
tie, but as we just,
that's highly, highly theoretical, right? It's don't ever expect it. I would never, ever expect it to have ever occurred in the past, nor would I ever expect to see it in the future. But to
and
answer the
there's kind of
question,
a lot to learn from that as well. Like, you could say it's free, it's zero, it's free, like, hey, let me do that. Um, and also could teach you that the the vertical spread, um, it's not going to go lower than zero,
right?
like, because that's what we're talking about here. It would be free money.
But see, that's exactly why, if you understand, we talked about one concept and you've spun out three or four related ways to see the same thing. And that's what allows you to say, well, I can see that this is going to max out at 5 or that this could only do this because you understand these boundaries. And that's one of the things that we really try to teach in our Q&As. We find that a lot of people have a lot of myths and misperceptions about the way this stuff works. And this is one we hear a lot, where a lot of people think that the at the monies with all of these great features such as gamma and vega could somehow, under certain conditions, outpace in terms of dollars the in the monies. Not going to happen. So we hope that that you found that somewhat helpful. That's what it's all about: finding something new that you didn't know, add it into your knowledge box there, make your toolkit even more powerful and more productive. So, Stu, any final comments?
Yeah, I always have something to say, Bill.
That's why I always ask.
This the math behind this can get a little complicated.
Mm-hmm.
The general, the general concept is to understand. The idea is to understand what an option can do
Yep.
and how it can act for you and how it can accomplish your goals.
Very good.
Understanding, the difference between in the money and at the money really is very, very basic. And it really has to do with the intrinsic value. And that's what people really get afraid of. Hey, I'm not paying $20 for that option
Yeah.
because, I read somewhere an option is supposed to be $1.
Right.
Well,
That's not
20
extrinsic
the
value.
$20 option might be
Might be 50 cents of extrinsic.
$19 in the money, and you're
Yeah.
paying a bone. yeah, it might be nothing, it might be the greatest deal on earth. And,
Yeah.
because your goal is to buy that stock. But if you understand like what, yeah, and that happens a lot with rolling. When people want to roll and they go down the machine, they go down the matrix and they kind of look for the dollar amount that they have
Yeah.
to buy versus the dollar amount that they can sell for. And they don't really understand that they're not fixing their delta problem.
No.
They had some diagonal spread on where they were long and now they're short because the gamma overtook the delta on the long
Delta's rolled
part.
over on them,
And
sure.
the delta rolled over on them and now they're like trying to fix it and they're rolling into somewhere where they're still short delta and the
It's still
stock's still
short
going
Delta.
up. But hey, debits and credits.
I got a
I don't
credit,
want to
right?
spend any money. They don't really understand intrinsic. It's like buying a $10 bill for $10. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
one
And
place or
that's
the
why we
other
try
place.
to,
So
yeah, that's why we try to
it's
bring
really
you,
important to understand this stuff.
yeah, that's why we try to bring you information that you're not going to see anywhere else. Lots of people can have a YouTube channel and say, I think this stock is going higher, or I think this is, it's always about what they think. The market doesn't care what you think or what I think or what Stu thinks. It's a collective opinion of everybody. And until you can figure out what
No, nobody
everybody's going
cares
to
about
do,
that.
the predictions are meaningless. What you want to do is to say, what am I trying to do? What's my goal? What are the risks I'm willing to take? And the risks I'm not willing to take, probably more important. And then set up your strategies. But in order to set up the
More
strategies,
important.
you have to understand this stuff. So, at any rate, we hope that helps you. And I know a
You
lot of
have
you,
to
and
understand what to expect out of an option.
you got to know what to expect, or out of especially a spread or complex positions, right? Yep. So I think we're going to get a lot of questions on this in our next Q&A, and I think we're going to see a lot of you in Miami. I'm going to be down there Friday morning. Sue, when are you coming in? Did I lose you?
I'll be there Friday morning, late morning as well.
Oh,
Yeah,
you
I'll
will?
see you
Okay.
there.
Well, we'll see you there, and we
No,
hope to
I'm here.
see many of
I'm
you
here.
in our
I'll be there
Q&A. Come
Friday.
up and say hi. We got a phenomenal 2 presentations for you on Saturday morning, part 1 and part 2, that are going to be some real mind benders. So I'm looking forward to
I
it.
can't
So
wait.
we'll see you down there, Stu,
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
and we'll see the rest of you next week on Coach's Corner.
All
Take
right.
care.
See you.
See ya.
See you, everyone.